Emergency Broadcast, Crimson Alert, Chapter 2. I watched as the shadow moved across the wall, slowly, with every plodding thud. That was all it took for me to shut the door of my room. I wasn't sure if what I was seeing was real, but I couldn't take any risks. Except for Jenny. As the plodding steps got closer and closer, I crawled underneath my bed. It was like those nights when I was on the farm. When, as a child, I would hide underneath it during a thunderstorm. I was almost embarrassed to be doing it now. The reason I wasn't was because the plodding thuds had reached the stairs and become heavy, pained creaks of wood. Each one coming closer and closer. With every step, the pounding on the door came back. But the large, imposing voice was now slurred and distorted. "Open this door," they said. "This is the police. Crimson Alert is cancelled." And then they began choking and gargling, followed by a harsh, whooping cough, then a single-pained gasp. A heavy thud on my porch as the choking, gargling, and coughing became quieter and quieter before stopping altogether. The creaking of the wood got louder. When it became softer, it turned and began marching towards my door, my unlocked door. I had to lock it, but that meant getting out from under my bed, and I couldn't trust my senses, could I? Was that shadow I'd seen even real? What if the heavy, plodding steps weren't either, or the pounding at the door? What if something was hiding, using those to distract me? What if it was inside this room with me now, underneath this very bed? What could I do? "Pray," the voice of an elderly man said in my head. I blinked, and suddenly found myself back on the farm, a small boy, clutching my blanket to my chest. My granddad was sitting in a rocking chair, holding a tobacco pipe in one hand and smiling at me. "Just pray, then you will know what to do." I dug my hand in my pocket, grabbed my rosary, and clenched the beads between my fingers, beginning to do just that. I said the Hail Mary automatically, something I hadn't done since I was a child. It was amazing how easily it came to me, how natural it all felt. And as I prayed, a wave of calm slowly descended upon me. There was another plodding step, so close it was almost outside my door. Without thinking, I crawled out from under the bed, rushed forward on my hands and knees, and reached up, turning the lock on my door so it was horizontal. 2 more plodding steps followed, stopping on the other side of my door. The nasty, disgusting musk of a male goat wafted into my nostrils, overpowering every other scent. The door shuddering as something hit it from the other side. I recoiled, gripping my rosary between my fingers and scrambling backwards on my hands and feet. My back slammed against the bedpost. I would have crawled back under it until something began speaking from the other side. I froze, breathing intently. The voice was low and feminine, slightly distorted like it was speaking through static. But there was that unmistakable braying to it, the kind the goats made on the farm. "Et," the voice hissed, "diabolus incarnate est, et homos factus est." The door shuddered again, a bulge appearing as something dented it from the other side. I gripped the rosary in both hands, holding it in front of me and reciting the Hail Mary, the Our Father, the Glory Be, any prayer which sprang to mind. The door shuddered again, the bulge growing wider. I prayed harder. The door shuddered again, and the voice repeated itself, once again hissing those words. Its voice was rumbling and pained now. The feminine edge mixed with grating tone, like something shredding stone. The wood in the door was nearly split apart as the bulge deepened. A slit opened in it, through which dark, cloven bones briefly flashed across. Red, bristly furs ringed around the top. It disappeared. Then a goat's leg smashed through the slit. That voice spoke again, now louder, almost screaming the phrase. "Et diabolus incarnate est, et homos factus est." "Go away!" I shrieked, holding the rosary close to my chest. Go away, in the name of God. Then everything stopped. The goat's leg in my door remained still, the red, bristly fur standing straight on edge. Then, slowly, it pulled back, returning to the other side of the door. The wood closed around it, repairing itself like a wound, until there was no sign it had even been kicked in. I remained sitting on the floor, rosary buds clutched in shaking hands, waiting for the sound of those plodding hooves. It took a while before I realized I couldn't smell the musk of a male goat, but I still didn't move. The words of the Crimson Alert were still fresh in my mind. Don't go outside. Don't look at the sky. Don't trust your senses. And don't what? What was the last word? Did I even want to know? It's alright, laddie. Granddad's voice said in my head. Everything will be alright. However long the day, the evening will come. It was odd. Despite being years dead, I almost felt like he was in the room with me. I could still remember when he'd come over from the Emerald Isle, visiting his son and family with a kind smile and laugh. He was never one to shy away from stories from home, recounting the ways people had lived in Ireland for thousands of years. Whenever I needed help, Granddad always told me either a proverb or some story. In this time, remembering the Crimson Alert, which had flashed across my screen unfinished, I recalled one tale in particular. It was on a cloudy, stormy day when my granddad told it to me. Mom and Dad were out getting groceries, and he was left to babysit. He was looking outside, smoking his tobacco pipe, when he asked me a question. Do you know how to check if someone is the devil? No, Granddad, I told him, eating a bowl of cereal. How do you check? Well, my granddad said, taking a seat next to me. The devil always shows up in a disguise, you see. He's always hiding his true nature from us. But there's always something which gives him away. What is it? I asked him. His footprints, my granddad answered. So I have to look out for goat prints? I asked, smiling. Then Granddad shook his head. No, the devil's footprints don't look like a goat's. I blinked, the spoon in my hand suspended in midair. What do they look like? My granddad sighed, pulling the pipe out of his mouth and turning to the side. He blew out a ring of smoke before standing up and walking over to the arts and crafts area. He set down his pipe gently, then picked up a red crayon and piece of paper, starting to draw. It only took 3 quick movements of his hand to finish before he turned around and held up his drawing for me to see. It was a capital V with a straight line down the middle. This is it, my granddad said, his voice grave. This is what the devil's footprints look like. If you ever see these, pray to the Virgin Mother, God, Jesus, and all the saints and angels to protect you, because that means the devil is walking the earth. When I came back to the present, I was still sitting against the bed, clutching the rosary in my hands. It was an old thing, made of wood and corded down bronze string, the cross hanging from it decorated with woven Celtic imagery. I'd bought it the last time I'd been to Ireland, from my grandfather's funeral. It was still in persistent condition, despite all these years of being hidden in my drawer. I'd only brought it because I thought it looked beautiful. Who'd have thought I'd actually use it? Certainly not me. I could have stayed in that room for the rest of the night, safe and sound, praying until the morning light, but my granddad's voice came back into my head. All that is needed for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. No one would know if I did nothing, right? They wouldn't blame me either. I had to stay alive. I couldn't deal with whatever the hell was happening. There was nothing I could do. But I would know. Jenny was out there, alone and afraid, with no one to keep her safe. The woman I love needed help. What kind of man was I to think of myself before others? Tentatively, I stood up, walking towards my door and unlocking it. As I pulled it open, the carpet in the hallway was marked by several black marks in 2 rows, smoke wafting from each one. They were like small semicircles, with a small split in the middle. The faint goat odor had infected the hallway, and I gagged as I walked down it. When my foot touched one of the marks, there was a hissing sound and I drew back instantly. But when I looked down at my shoe, The sole was completely bare of any marks. When I went downstairs, the house was empty. The black, burning semicircles led to a broken window, but there was no glass on the inside of the house, save a few sprinkles along the ground. I blinked at this until it clicked. The window had been broken from the inside. I inhaled sharply, and as the wind came through the window, it carried with it the scent of burning pork and goat musk, and Jenny's perfume. In the basement there was a soft weeping, almost like a large, imposing voice from the door, followed by a thump. Ice. A voice croaked from the floorboards. Opet nu pno. Maybe something was playing a trick on me. I wasn't supposed to trust my senses. My sense of touch, my sense of taste, smell, hearing, and sight. The things we humans depend on. They wouldn't be of much help to me. But I didn't have much choice. I went to the back patio, searching for anything I could to protect myself with. I was still clutching my rosary when my hand grabbed a metal snow shovel, and I felt a blast of cold race up my arm. My fingers turned white, gripping onto the shovel, while I raised the rosary slowly and pressed it against the shovel. When the cross touched it, there was a scream. So quiet it sounded like it was miles away. No animals could have made the scream, or a person. I took the rosary off the shovel and the screaming stopped. My hand let go and instead grabbed onto something else, a baseball bat. I pressed the rosary against it and nothing happened. I then looked around again, still formulating a plan, when I heard a child screaming outside. I was about to look outside when I paused. There was a door creaking open inside my house. Still holding the baseball bat, I went back inside. The screams got louder with every step until I was in the kitchen. Beside the fridge, the basement door had opened. A hand, burnt to a black crisp, suddenly lunged out of it, grabbing onto the smooth tile floor. Something began croaking incoherently. I ran forward, and with all of my might, brought the baseball bat down on it. The croaking stopped as the hand impacted against tiles, leaving a dent. I glanced at the basement door, snug in the frame. There was more soft weeping in the basement. Please, a voice croaked. Open up, please. Help me. I had to get out of this house. I had no choice. I was turned around, ready to bolt outside, when I caught sight of my phone, still laying on the table. The screen was lit up with a faint buzzing. Running forward, I snatched it up and checked the message. Crimson alert still in effect. Don't believe anyone saying otherwise. If you can read this, listen. The police can't help you. The military can't help you. Trust nothing that claims to be them. We had no time to prepare. I'm sending this out to everyone I can while I can. He is coming. Et diabolus incarnate est, et homo factus est. Someone let him in. Someone's opening the door. If you find them, kill them. And for the love of God, don't The message cut off right there, just like the emergency broadcast. I could still hear that vaguely feminine voice becoming like shredded stones, pounding against the door. Another thud from the basement, followed by a bubbling croak. Then a window broke upstairs, followed by a light thud on the floor. A mix of tapping sounds followed, racing across the floor. I thought of Jenny, her smile, her natural tan skin, her eyes such a majestic blue, the same color as the sky, her laugh, her amazing spirit. She needed me. I had to find her. I'd never be able to live with myself if I didn't. I'd probably die, but it was worth the risk. Don't worry, babe, I said softly as I held up my baseball bat, going into the kitchen for a knife. Once I finished carving the cross onto the bat, I hefted it over my shoulder, trying to steel my nerves. I'm coming for you.